Alright, so if you've been watching my channel, you'd know that I've been exploring how to recreate mechanics from video games. Well, actually, so far I've only recreated Helldivers 2 stratagems, but which if you haven't watched them, I mean, what are you doing? Go watch them. But anyways, I wanted to try what I thought was going to be a super hard mechanic to try and make, and that is the Spider-Man web swinging mechanic. If you've played the Insomniac games, then you'd know that their web swinging mechanics are super fluid, especially when it comes to the second game. I of course only had 2 weeks to try and make this mechanic, so obviously it's not going to come out anywhere near as good as theirs. But I wanted to at least get a prototype down and then maybe somewhere down the line make it better, refine it a little. But anyways, that's enough yapping out of me. Let's get to how I made it. I started off by looking into how to make a grapple because I felt like it'd be kind of the same when it comes to the starting point for this. And then so I started off by finding points in the quote-unquote buildings, I guess you could say, because I'm just testing them out in little cubes for Unreal Engine for the web to find and stick itself onto. It took me forever to get this to work, from trying a bunch of different things like getting actors tags and maybe sending the web to there, or even a spline to go towards the building, but I ended up finding this worked best. And so what I ended up doing was getting the actor location, getting the actor's rotation, and making sure that it was always looking in front of it. And this is just a number that I came up with. It's pretty much just kind of like checking 100 meters ahead of itself. And I ended up making a collision preset called swing point, so that the web would only look for anything that has this collision preset. I ended up making a sphere trace so that way it could look for, these cubes within a certain radius of it, which as you can see I made it into 1,000. I then checked to see if it hit anything. If it didn't, then we can't swing, which is what this is. If we did, then we spawn the web. Pretty much to sum this up, if we have anything that's in this 1,000 radius from the sphere, then we set it to be able to swing and we spawn in a web. After that, it was math time. Yay. Luckily, it turns out Unreal Engine has stuff to do the math for me, which made my life so much easier. And after bippity-boppeting some code, this is what it looks like. And voila, we have this here. So first we check to see if we're attached to anything. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, one thing that I used for the actual web itself is I made a little cable and just set it and just, customize it to be thin. So that way it's not like a super thick web. But anyways, that's not really too important, just something that I wanted to note. I had made a socket location on the actual skeleton itself, which I'm showing on the screen. And that was what my swing location was. And I used that to be able to get the web to spawn from the bone to the actual cube that we wanted to. Or well, backwards in this sense, we want to get it to go towards the cube from the socket. This part right here, pretty much what it is making sure that our web doesn't stretch to infinity, which I ended up doing in another section of the code, which I'll show in a bit. And after that, we get the player's velocity, the location from the swing location. And what this does here is it pretty much makes it so that you can combine two vectors. That's super oversimplified, but just know that that's what it does. I then use normalize to make sure that our code remains as efficient as possible, and it's pretty much just a little safety net thing for the vectors to actually calculate correctly in a sense. I then multiplied it by -4 because we want our velocity to be sending us upwards instead of downwards. And -4 is just a number that I played around with, and I liked how it felt the best. And this right here is what does the calculations when it comes to the velocity for us. And then we set air control to 2 because we want to be able to, once we're swinging, we want to be able to move left or right super easily. After that, we had to attach our web, which I would just use the left mouse button for this case. I'm gonna go over the press section of the code first. So first we want to obviously check if we're falling, just because in the long run I'd be able to do different styles of animations for if we're not falling or if we're just on the floor and we want to start swinging. Also, we want to be able to check if we could swing, which once again was done up here. We then have our swing location, and it's pretty much the same code as the calculate swing, just with this time we have the code where we set our cable length, which is this right here. I made sure so that it doesn't stretch any higher than 300 Unreal units. And then we set the cable length from the actual cable component, which to make it look easier for anyone that wants to learn how to do this, it's pretty much just this. And then we set is attached to true because, we're attached to something. Once we let go of the left click, we make sure that if we are attached to something, we add 500 to our velocity, because if you can see in the Spider-Man games, it adds a little jump boost once you let go of the web button. Or I guess once you push R2 and X, which is the jump button and the swing button. And then we set is attached to false because we're not attached to anything anymore. And then pretty much what this does is just makes it so that the cable isn't showing up anymore. And we set air control back to 0.2, which is a number that you could play around with, but it's just what I decided on. I think I might increase it just because in the Spider-Man games you could control pretty well in the air no matter what. But for now, this is just what I'm gonna keep it at. So yeah, as you can see, it still has a lot of work to do, but that's pretty much how I made a really simple version of the Spider-Man swing mechanic. It took me a lot of time to make, so I hope you all enjoyed it. If there are any other mechanics that you'd like to see me try to recreate, let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching.